Tech as a dark horse potentially next year.
Let's get to the final team in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They've been good for a good amount of years here, but just 15-15 in the ACC last year, 38-22 overall. Tom Walters, Wake Forest Demon Deacons. This is one, they first off, anytime you lose Cocaine Roland, that's
our guy.
I gotta fade this year's team. You lose Cocaine Roland. I don't know how there is Slim Johnston that maybe he can come on in and help out
fill that role.
that big loss of Cocaine Roland. But they lose Chase Burns. They lose Josh Hartle, Michael Massey, Nick Kurtz was a big loss. Seaver King, Adam Tellier, Cameron Gill. I mean, just a slew of losses for Wake, but they do bring back some key pieces, and they were actually more active in the portal than I thought they would be. Bringing in Jimmy Keenan from St. John's at the catcher spot, Cade Lewis, the first baseman from Butler, coming in. Also a big freshman, Dalton Wentz, that they're excited about. Hopefully he's not like Carson getting injured every 2 weeks. Ethan Conrad comes in from the Red Foxes of Marist. And then to me, one of the big ones here was Matthew Dallas coming in from the Vols of Tennessee, and Logan Lunsford from Missouri getting some SEC talent. Duncan Marston's a freshman they're excited about. Bieniek, should we buy some stock on these Demon Deeks this year? No.
I mean, the stock's already kind of high. They're still kind of getting priced at respected of what they did in 2023. There's a lot of unproven talent, but boy, is it just oozing out of this pitching staff. Let's start with let's start with the proven talent. They've got 4 Friday starters on this roster, which is ridiculous. You've got Matthew Dallas is probably going to be this year's Friday starter. I'm counting him, but Logan Lunsford was Missouri's Friday starter last year in the SEC. And then also in the transfer portal, they landed Griffin Green, Virginia Tech's ACC Friday night starter, and Matt Bedford, Notre Dame's ACC Friday night starter. Those two aren't even predicted to be like big contributors in the bullpen. Like they're so far down like the list of like contributors or the guys that Walter's going to turn to here. Matthew Dallas is interesting. They're going back to the well of Tennessee. If there was one team that you can pick a couple of arms from, that would be the team that I'd do it. Take them from Frank Anderson. Dallas, a southpaw. He's kind of got a low 90s, good off speed, kind of a Josh Hartle type arm there. The other name to know is Duncan Marston, true freshman, top 75 recruit out of one of the best high school teams of all time. 2024 Harvard Westlake out in California. He was the number 3 right-handed pitcher out of California. 4-pitch mix. He's got a mid-90s fastball, sinker, 4-seam slider, changeup, off speeds plus. He's 6'4", 215. Somehow didn't sign pro. Blake Morningstar last year, not his year. 7.45 ERA in 29 innings. But in those 29 innings, he had 38 strikeouts, didn't really struggle throwing strikes. He just got hit hard. He's going to be in the weekend rotation, I think. And then you return bullpen mainstays, Will Ray, a submariner. A shout out to my funky slot guys. Josh Gunther, a stocky. He was last year he was a freshman, stocky right-hander. He came up big late in the year, led them to make some real noise in the ACC tournament, in the conference tournament. Joe Areola, a left-hander, made big-time strides in the summer. He only had 13 innings, but this kid's nasty. And then Colby already mentioned Zach Slim Johnston. Johnny, I'll leave the offense to you. The pitching staff's got all the potential in the world to do some real damage in the ACC this year.
We're talking about my sorrows. Wake's definitely my sorrow. Wake, I had a King's ransom on in 2023 preseason, and they couldn't win one game against LSU. Not one game.
I had a better number than you, but yeah, kudos to both of us.
I gave out 40-1, and then by the time I was ready to bet it, it was 25. So it was terrible. But in any case, listen, Wake Forest was a team I expected to regress last year. They ripped my heart out of my chest after the 23 season. And even though they got Chase Burns, I didn't think that they were going to be that good last year. I thought they were going to be competitive. I thought they were going to be able to, potentially win a region, but that was about it. And you lose Chase Burns, in my opinion, who I've said many times, I think he has the higher MLB ceiling than Paul Skeens. I think this kid is going to be a menace. You lose him. You lose Josh Hartle, a guy who before the disaster of last year was trending as a first-round pick. You lose a couple other pitchers. You lose Nick Kurtz, Seaver King, Adam Tellier. There's a lot of missing key pieces from not only last year, but the last 2 years. Now you have to go in and replace. And Tom Walters, fantastic coach. Wake Forest has the pitching lab. You want to be a pitcher, that's where you go. You go to Wake Forest. But starting with the hitting, they go to Jimmy Keenan. My alma mater, St. John's, had a great year last year, showed out in the tournament. You get Cade Lewis from Butler, who had a great year as well. Merrick Houston's coming back. He's not a guy that's as well known. Like, he's not a big name to people that don't follow the sport. But inside college baseball circles, if you've watched enough, you've heard Merrick Houston's name the last couple of years. I think he's a good shortstop. I don't know if I buy as much hype as everybody else, thinking he's like a future superstar. I think he's a solid shortstop. Jack Winay is a good hitter. Ethan Conrad's a huge transfer from Marist that they're counting on. And they have potential with Ryan Priziano, Cameron Nelson. So I think this lineup in the bandbox that is Wake Forest, it's going to be good. I think the pitching is a lot of question marks. Duncan Marston is a guy for, if he lives up to the hype, they're going to be, much better than we think. Matthew Dallas, Tennessee guy. Those Tennessee guys transferring usually pretty good. Dallas didn't get a whole ton of work at Tennessee last year, but listen, they have a lot of depth. Logan Lunsford, who, on occasionally Friday nights at Mizzou last year, he was able to, really give some teams some hard times like Florida. There was a ton of curveballs. Matt Bedford, you don't know what Bedford's going to end up coming out with this year at some point. I think for me, Wake Forest is probably, right outside the edge of a top 5 team. I think they're probably around 6th. I think they're going to have some juice this year. I just think considering what they lost last year, especially in the pitching, I don't know how they're going to make up for it. But let me tell you something. There's a guy I want you to keep your eye on for next year. They're getting a guy from my high school, Marcelo Harsh.
Here we go.
Big time arm. He's going to be a stud for Wake Forest next year. And truth be told, when you look at Wake's schedule this year, it's not exactly a gimme. They do play my alma mater the second week of the season. Wake Forest I think is going to be solid, but I don't think they're going to be anything I'm going to be betting them to win the ACC.
Yeah, I'll just add emphasis on 2 new additions that'll help out this offense big time. I think you touched on them already, but like Ethan Conrad from Marist, some people are going to look at it and say, how is he going to go from the MAAC into the ACC? Typically in baseball, just the tools transfer, and it clicks right away. And he was already producing in the Cape Cod League. This kid's going to produce right away, in my opinion. It's a swift left-handed swing. He's kind of, tight, close to his body, but it produces great line drives. 9 home runs last year, 18 doubles. Those 18 doubles, man, it's going to translate into double-digit home runs because of the short porch, like Johnny already mentioned. And then Cade Lewis, he was a bopper at Butler. Welcome to warmer weather, buddy. 10 home runs, 12 doubles last season. This is a guy that didn't really strike out much in the Big East, batted .377 with a 1054 OPS. I think this guy might turn into a dude too. Jack Winay is kind of the key that makes all of this work, because he's either going to play first, third, corner, outfield, wherever they choose to play him allows them to play an extra bopper, either Cameron Nelson, Ryan Presano, Matt Conti, any of those 3 that get onto the field. If they can get another bopper in there, is more the better for the Demon Deacons.